This video will go over how to draft a good team comp in League of Legends. Firstly, let's talk about the very basics. You want to have a mixture of physical and magic damage so your opponent can't stack resistances against you. You want access to reliable crowd control to make your own plays and stop your opponents. You want to have a good front line to protect your team. And you want good engage or disengage to choose or avoid fights. With the basics out the way, let's look at champion synergies with each other. The most important is your bot lane. Are you both trying to do the same thing? For example, if you have Caitlyn or Ezreal, you're looking to poke and kite your opponent. So you want a support that can do that with you, as well as disengage enemies from you like a Sona, Zilean or Janna. Where if you're playing carries like Samira or Nyla, you want aggressive supports that can go in with you like Nautilus or Rell. If you know what your ally's playing, you can then pick a character with them. However, if you don't, having a flexible choice is a great option. Characters like Jinx or Sivir work very well with any comp, as well as the more flexible supports like Thresh or Renata. So let's talk about synergy in other lanes. If we look at this team comp, mid Katarina brings a ton of damage, top Garen brings a ton of damage, and jungle Lee Sin brings a ton of damage. However, this entire team is lacking reliable CC. A gank is far more likely to be successful if your opponent can't move to get away from it. And with ganking being so important and failed ganks being so devastating, this is very important to get correct. And with this team comp, you've essentially drafted two lanes which cannot be ganked. So, if you want to keep two high damage laners, you now need to bring a jungler who brings a silly amount of CC like Sejuani or Zac. But if your laners bring a little bit of their own CC like this, champions like my mains, J4 and Vi, are great pickups where they bring a bit of CC and a bit of damage. With any of these team comps, we now see that our team brings the correct amount of lockdown to make a gank successful, as well as a good amount of damage. And the final important individual synergy to mention is jungle and support. In the game, the top, mid and bot laners will all be farming in lane for a lot of the game. This means the jungler and the support will be the ones running around together looking for plays. So if you have a high damage jungler like a Zed or Lee Sin, having a support that can bring the lockdown is very important. Where if you have a more support focused jungler like a Skarner or Rammus, something like a Pyke or Brand to bring the damage is amazing. Next, we want to make sure the entire team wants to do a similar thing. Let's talk about this team comp. Firstly, we do have a good split of physical and magic damage, we like that. However, from here it falls apart. Teemo and Kate want to sit back and shoot things, where Lee, Cat and Pyke all want to jump in after a fight has started. We have no engage or disengage, which means your opponents can choose when to start fights, and there is nothing to support your assassins going in and nothing to protect the backline. So how do we fix it? Let's start by bringing some engage. We can do this in any role, but let's go with Zac jungle. Zac can now start fights with Cat and Pyke easily following up. However, we have two backline carries exposed, so let's swap out Pyke for something with disengage like a Janna and you have a much better comp. So, how can I draft better teams? Well, you being flexible with your picks, being able to bring physical and magic damage champions is a great start. If you don't know what your team's bringing, having a champion that works well in any comp is a great start. However, if your team drafts a ton of damage, make sure you bring the lockdown. And on a similar note, if your team brings a ton of support, you need to be able to bring this damage yourself.